everyone, and happy Monday, the 2nd of October already. My goodness, we're to Halloween month. I know a lot of people get very excited, and I am planning some Halloween themed videos. When I say planning, I just know I'm going to do some. I haven't picked pages or anything yet, so I'm not that organised. But today we're working on our planner, and we have this page from Enchanted Forest. So I've done a bit of this already as a video a long time ago. I think it was some mushrooms I did, maybe a bit of the tree, I can't remember. But it was a while ago, and I know I used polychromos. I'm using polychromos again today. And I'm going to get stuck in to a bit of a tree and explain why I'm not using a different pencil type. I did have a look at different pencils, and I've got a sore wrist still. This is the burnt umber, and I'm going to be doing this tree trunk. I'm going to start with the edges of the tree with this darker brown, and then I'm going to go a little bit lighter. Yeah, I got a bit of a sore wrist. It's the chemist and pharmacist said they thought it was probably a repetitive strain injury. Just trying to work out. See, that looks like roots, but what's this bit? Is that a gap, maybe? So I have been using a splint at night to try and help it, but it's a bit sore. So I had thought about using Staedtler pencils, but they're a little bit hard, and we've got a big area to cover on this page. So I thought it would be better to use a softer pencil or a more vibrant pencil. I could have used Prismas, probably would have been better. So what I'm trying to do is to get a nice dark edge to our tree. I'm going back over because it isn't as dark as I'd like, and then I'm lightening, putting less layers in towards the middle. We're going to do that throughout this tree. Now we've got an overlap here of this sort of vine, so we need to be careful of that. It's not the end of the world if you go over it, but it isn't my plan to go over it in brown. Now with the branches and the trunk, I find that if you do them a little bit darker along the edges, it's not always easy. I just realised my lamp isn't on. It might help with the shadows a bit. It helps me to see better anyway. If you do a darker area on the edges, it helps to make the branches look a little bit more three-dimensional. It's not so easy to see when I'm zoomed out so far, but because the tree takes up the whole length of the page, it's not really, I can't really come in close, and then I'd have to keep moving the book around all the time, probably forget that I had moved it, keep you out of shot for ages and make you dizzy. So I think it's better to be a little bit further out for this one, but it is a lot of the same, so just a darker edge and a little bit lighter as it come in. Ignoring Mr. Owl for now. Just trying to work out what's going on here. This is the tree going up here. Now we have things like this, which I think is a hole in the trunk. So I'll be colouring that even darker. I mean, this is, I think, one of the darkest browns. Got the dark, oh, we have got, what's that? Just looking, I think that's dark sepia. Yeah, we have the dark sepia, which is even darker, but I tend to use that for my shadows and things. I might use it at the end if I think it's necessary. Now this page has got a lot going on. We've got a big amount of background. Now I always found that very daunting on this page when I've done it in the past. This time I don't, because I'm going to do it in a soft pastel and just make my life easy. So I'm not worrying about that yet. It's going to be right at the end. I haven't even got any pastels in here, so can't worry about it yet. I had thought about making this look a bit more spooky for Halloween, or a bit more sort of autumnal. So I've got those ideas a little bit, but I'm not really doing anything about that yet. I'm just doing a conventional brown tree trunk. So it's how I like to colour trees. So that's what I'm going to do. Maybe we'll make the leaves a bit more autumnal. I don't really feel like it's quite autumn yet. I'm not recording this that far in advance. It's the what date is it? I don't even know. It is the 27th. Is that right? Yes, 27th of September. And I haven't really seen many trees changing colour yet, you know, so I haven't seen a lot of autumnal colour, so that's really why I don't, and leaves aren't really coming down, although today we are forecast gale force winds, so the leaves might start to fall. I notice my fuchsia, the leaves have gone brown and half of them have fallen off. But I think that's a bit due to the fact that I'm not caring for it very well and I've shoved it in a pot that's probably a bit too small. But hey, I bought it and then didn't quite realise how big it was, and I had to sort of knock off some of the soil to fit it in my pot, so it's a bit limited soil wise, so it may not survive. Now we do have lots of detailed patterning on our tree, and I am choosing to ignore it. I may change my mind later and put something in there. Whoops, going over the lines. But at the moment, I'm just going to colour over it, and I will have a think as I go if I think it needs a bit more. I'm just going to bring this in just a tad so it's easier to blend it into our next colour. Okay, I'm going to leave that there for now with our dark umber, and I'm going to go a little bit lighter. What should I pick? I'm going to pick the nougat. Okay, I don't know how easy. It helps if I face the name towards you. I don't know if you can see that because I can't see it in the camera screen because it's too far away. But anyway, so I'm going to fill in the gaps down here with nougat. Now, I've done that. I can't actually see any difference in colour. It all looks like it's the same brown, which isn't what I was going for. But again, we'll rectify that later. Yeah, I'm going to sort of leave that bit for now and go around this space here. I'm going to sort of fade towards the centre. In fact, I might start here where it's really easy, where we've got no overlap, and put down my nougat here and just fade it towards the middle. Like that. Now the plan is that the tree is going to have darker edges than centre so that it looks more rounded. If we've got a lighter bit in the middle, it looks like that bit's nearer to us, so it gives the impression that the tree is a bit more rounded. I'm going to do that throughout the tree on each branch as well, and hopefully we'll get a rounded looking trunk, but we'll have to wait and see. It might not work at all. It usually does, I'm confident. But, and I'm sure you can do it too. And basically the key is to just keep playing with it. Don't be afraid to keep layering and layering up your colours. It does take a while, so if you get bored, sometimes I get bored and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do any more, and just don't. But if you want a really impactful result, then you probably need to do quite a lot of layers, particularly with polychromos. But as I say, it should be about having fun, and if you're getting bored and not enjoying it, then just stop and do something else. Nope. Just moving my page, I'm not colouring over the edge. So I wonder how many of you got your 2024 planner yet. I tried to get one the other day. I popped it on my Amazon wishlist because to remind me to get it later, because it's not available still. I don't know whether it has been available and it's disappeared on Amazon, this is, but it's probably available elsewhere. I just haven't had the time to properly look into it. But I am going to be doing videos from it as well, like I have been with this one. So don't worry, and I will get it in time, I'm sure. Even if I have to order it from America. Some of you Americans have had it for ages. And I'm very jealous, because why should you get it first when Johanna's British? You know, I quite understand when, you know, Rita Berman's books come out in Germany first and she's German and things like that. But, you know, Johanna's British. We should get her books first. You've had it for months. So I may have to just bite the bullet and do pay the old American postage. But it's, you know, like I did with Hannah's book. and got her Atlantis and paid for it to be sent from, where is it sent from? I think it was sent from Denmark, weirdly, even though she's Swedish. I'm not sure, entirely sure though. This pencil's a bit blunt, just going to have a sharpen. But anyway, moan over. I've whinged about this before as well, and I am naughty. And even when she has a new book out, it always comes out in America before the UK. It's not fair. I'm colouring over this, which I'm going to go over in a darker colour eventually, but I know that, you know, this paper takes lots of layers and polychromos would easily layer on top of each other, so it's absolutely fine. I'm not at all worried about doing that, and it makes it look a little bit neater than trying to leave a space, I always find. So I won't do that here. I mean, I have coloured over them, but I wasn't trying to. But when it's, I know it's going to be just coloured a darker brown or a black, so it doesn't matter. And now I'm just filling in all these little gaps, and we're going to come back to our darker colour again. I mean, you could have started with a layer of this first, and then dug out your darker one. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to sharpen it and come back with it. This again, just to remind you, it's the burnt umber. So this is going to be my sort of finishing touch. So I'm going to pay a lot of attention to how it's looking and getting it looking how I want. So basically, you may not need to do this. Yours might look fine without the extra going over the, you know, this is a sort of individual thing. Does it look right for you? Have you done enough layers here and there? Does it need a little bit more? Oops, and don't go out of the lines there. I shall grab my eraser, and oh yeah, I got it out ready. Obviously, I must have known. The eraser's got a bit on the end. There we go. Now, this is a Tombow Mono eraser. I find it to be really, really good. The Staedtler, these are the best erasers ever, upside down, but they're too big. I mean, this is quite a new one. It probably could have done that. They're a bit big sometimes. So the Tombow Mono one is superior, I would say, to get into little spaces. I know some people use an electric one, which I don't know. It's maybe I'm old-fashioned. It just seems a bit weird, but I know people like them a lot. So I'm sure they're not really weird. It's just me being old-fashioned and an old fuddy-duddy. Gosh, am I even that old? I don't know. My children think so. When they were at primary school, they thought I was a Victorian. So I think they know now that I wasn't. My gran was. I wasn't. Not that old. But, oh. Got one boy home today. He's been doing a little bit of study. It's quite difficult for him at the minute because they haven't really, they've got all their assignments given to them already. I'm just going to make that bit extra dark so it looks like it's sort of cut into the wood a bit. I might do the same here, just so it looks a bit deeper, the gap there. So yeah, they've got all their assignment titles and the due in dates, but it's because they've hardly done any work yet. You know, it's only his first week. He hasn't even done a full week yet. They don't really know where to go with it. You know, they're going to be taught about how to do the research they need, find the right resources and things like that, and then he can get stuck in. He's been having a little look at it, reading a few journals, finding it quite interesting. And he's like, but it's not really relevant to what I need. So he's been having a bit of a relax while he can, I think. It's going to get hard. So that's fine. My other boy's on his way. No, it's 2 o'clock recording this. He's getting the train at past, so he'll be home in about 45 minutes, I guess, if the train isn't running too late. I'm quite pleased because we've got storms today, and he'll be home well in time to avoid them. which I don't think it's that. It's gale force winds. It's not rain or anything too nasty, but I think his dad was having a bit of a worry, so he'll be pleased to know that he's home. I might give him a ring actually when he gets home, just to tell him he's home. He won't worry. Right, just going around the edges of this bit, around these leaves. Now let's have a little look at our tree. It's quite dark there. Might just bring that in a tad. But I think I'm happy with that. But now it's time to look at our little details. I'm going to grab the dark sepia and do like this hole here. Now I think this is a hole, complete, like a little owl nest hole. I don't think owls nest in holes in trees. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. If you make it darker, it looks more like a hole. And then it's going to go around the edge of this bit, and it looks like there's this sort of rim around it. Like that, which is quite fun. I'm going to put a bit of shadow under Mr. Owl with the sepia. And then I'm going to go, this bit here I'm going to do as a hole as well. I don't know how clear it is for you to see, but hopefully if you're colouring along you can see where I am on yours. And then we've got a piece here. I'm also going to do that as a little dip in, just colouring it a little bit darker. And then we've got one down here. I'm going to colour in a bit darker. And then we have this around this leaf. This I think is a really dark, deep crevice even. And we've got the leaves growing in there as well. So make that quite dark. And then this bit I'm going to do all dark as well. So I'm going to actually just colour the whole thing in quite thickly. So layer it up. You can colour, you can push fairly hard on this if you're not going to use the back, because effectively, sorry I'm just shading it but I'm not doing anything amazing, just colouring it in. Effectively this is a single-sided book, but if you use the back as a planner you want to be a bit careful, and you can always put a piece of paper behind, which I don't bother with because I don't use the planner side. I'm rattling my desk. It's a bit awkward, that little bit. Okay, now what else shall we do? We could do some highlights over all. I think I'm going to do this hole here and this one here and around there. But I think I'm going to leave it there. You could highlight different bits and lines using this colour to just, you know, but no, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to get on with some leaves. Now I always wonder whether to do the leaves of the tree the same colour as these little leaves in here. Are they part of the tree? They're drawn quite differently, so I think I will just do these in the colour that I'm planning. Well, I say planning as if I'm planning. I'm not yet. I haven't thought about it yet. Right. Right. Autumnal. Okay. I am thinking we'll do a mixture of two colours to give us an autumnal feel. So we'll start with an earth green yellowish. Not sure how well that's just rubbish, isn't it? And I'm going to use that on the base. So basically, where it's near the tree, layer it up a lot, and then just fade it just over halfway. Okay, and do that on every single leaf from this tree. Now I'm just looking down the page. I know it's not all in shot because we have some leaves falling in the picture, and I think these two are from this tree and this one, but there's some further down I don't think they're from this tree, so I'm going to not worry about those. Oh, it's raining. Oh, my boy's gonna get wet. He might be at the station already. Well, I hope so, because it's only 10 minutes before his train leaves. It was raining when I was out, but I only had a few big drips. I've just realised that there looks like it's a bit of branch. So I'm just going to grab my nougat pencil and just colour that bit in there. I think that's right. And then the burnt umber, my pencil's running away, to do a little bit underneath like that. There we go. I think that'll do. Oops. I'll try and make you less wonky, or else you'll have to sit with your head on the side. Make yourself feel dizzy. I think it's probably only me that gets. I'm getting a few dizzy spells lately. I do have this from time to time. There's nothing nasty, but turning over in bed can suddenly feel very dizzy. I'm used to it really. I did have some physio to get rid of it, and it worked, but it sort of comes back from time to time. And I really ought to repeat my physio so that I can get rid of it. It does work. I've got the instructions printed out, so I don't have to go and see anyone anymore. I can just do it myself, which is really handy. But I would advise going to a physio because it's amazing. I got it done free under the NHS. Basically, in our hospital, you can self-refer to the physio department. So you just go to the department. I mean, I don't know if this happens in other hospitals, but if you've got one nearby, just walk in and see if you can. They have a form, and you just fill it in, and then they self-refer, and then they triage you and get you an appointment based on how your need. Obviously, if someone's recovering from an injury, then they need physio much more quickly, because they need to get their mobility back or whatever, and they might find if they delay it, it might lead to permanent damage. So I would never expect to be seen that quickly for something like this, but I did get seen reasonably quickly actually, and actually I think it was about 4 weeks. It's really quite quick. This is going back quite a long time, to be honest. Things are not so good in the NHS as they were. And yeah, she did these exercises which made me very dizzy, but it gets rid of it. It's very odd. But what had happened, you see, is you have some crystals in your ears, and if they get dislodged and keep hitting parts of your ear, it affects your balance and your dizziness, makes you dizzy and sort of disorientates you. So the exercises are basically designed to put those crystals back where they should be and stop the dizziness, and it works. So it's a really simple procedure, and but you have to know how to do it properly. You can look it up online, but you have to firstly know how to tell which ear it is, and I don't always know. And then you can just do it on yourself. But you have to be a bit careful, making sure that once you're done that you're completely not dizzy, or else just start walking around when you're dizzy. It's quite dangerous. You might fall over, which I have done before. Not completely, I had to grab on some furniture, but luckily I'm reasonably fit, so if I fall over I don't really do much damage. I might just jar my back or scrape my knee or something. I don't really hurt myself that badly, which is good. But as we get older, we get a bit more vulnerable. I mean, my mum's neighbour has just broken her hip falling over. Basically, it's very odd. I heard the story. She got out of bed, and she got out on the wrong side of her bed. She has a double bed, and her husband passed away some time ago, so she's in there on her own. And for some reason, she got out the wrong side to normal and just went over on the floor, and she couldn't get up, and she ended up breaking her hip as she fell. So apparently a really good thing to do is to make sure that as you get older you make sure you still got some strength in your muscles, and then if you wrong end of that one, if you fall you can support yourself a bit better. So core strength is important, but also just arm and leg strength, because if you fall you can catch yourself with your arms if your arms are strong, and your legs can take some of the impact as well. And there are some quite simple exercises, and balance too. Now, balance exercise that I saw, which I've been doing, because I wanted to get in the habit of doing it now while I'm young and I don't have a problem, so that I can keep going as I'm older. I say young, I'm 50. 50. Anyway, the thing is to stand on one leg while you're brushing your teeth. And it helps you to balance. It's really good because you can grab onto the sink if you wobble, which I do, and you're standing there anyway, so you can just do that at the same time. So I think exercise is really good if you incorporate it into other things. Like if you're cleaning, you're exercising. You know, you have to think about it. So if you clean more often, you exercise more often. If you're going to town to post a letter like I just did, you're exercising, you know. I actually, I could have posted the letter in a local post box, but I chose to walk a little bit further. Now, I've got to be careful because I've got another tree overlapping here. Now, this is actually, in the original book, I'm just thinking, this is a symmetrical picture, isn't it? And this is the breakdown here. Oops, I'm wondering whether to make this not symmetrical because we haven't got all of both bits. Let's not make it symmetrical. So let's, yeah, we'll do that tree in a different way. Let's make it look a bit different. If you are doing this from the main book rather than from the planner, you might want to make it symmetrical and do the other tree identically. It's completely up to you. But because this is a chopped version and the centre of the picture isn't in the centre of the page, then I'm going to do it differently. Yeah, so yes, I could have posted the letter locally, but I decided I would go into town and put it in the main post office letterbox. There are actually 3 letterboxes between here and that one, but I decided that I would, if I put it in there, it's going to get collected today, as the other ones only have a collection at 9 AM, so it would be too late today. But also, and so I wanted to make sure it got there fairly soon. It's a birthday card for someone whose birthday's on the 1st, which is Sunday, so they need to get it by Saturday, so hopefully I'll get there. Plus the extra exercise did me good, so I had a sort of 15-minute each way maybe walk, rather than I could have had a 2-minute walk, so that was good. That's from that tree. I'm doing let's try out this eraser. I'm sorry if you were colouring along, I was just getting carried away nattering. Didn't realise what I was doing. Now I'm just looking here, that bit is that tree. I think we're done. Now with next colour, we want to give this an autumnal look. So I'm thinking we'll go with the burnt ochre on the tips of the leaves. I'm going to give it a sharpen. Start here. Now what I'm going to do here is the opposite to what I did here. So more colour here and then fade it into the green, like that. It's a slightly orangey tip, which is nice and warm and autumnal. Well, slightly autumnal. We can put autumnal colours into all of our leaves if we wish, and yeah, give it overall a warmth, which I like. That's what's so nice about autumnal colours, isn't it? The warmth, I think, and the promise of crisp, frosty mornings. Oh, I love it. I was actually admiring the view up the hill as I was walking back from town. The trees, as I say, they aren't really turning yet, but it's just so pretty. Having been away on holiday and admired the views there, come home and you think, we are so lucky where we live. You know, we're in the Cotswolds, It's really pretty. The place we live isn't the prettiest, but it is, you have to look beyond the town. The town itself isn't pretty, but on the high street you can see the hills from the high street, so that's in itself really pretty. And so we're just lucky that we've got such nice views. Where we live, we have nice people. We've got a bit of a problem in the town at the moment with a particular person who's going around various different streets and trying car doors in the night and stealing anything they can find to sell from the cars. And they've been around our road quite a few times, and other roads. It's very irritating, but I suspect it happens in most places. It doesn't make you feel too bad because they're not trying front doors and coming into houses or robbing houses, you know, they're just opportunists. He's just an opportunist trying to find stuff, and I think he's on drugs and is looking for money, which is, you know, it's quite sad. I know that people take drugs for all sorts of reasons, and I feel they need help, and I don't feel like we've got enough ways of helping people. But on the other hand, we all have stresses and we all deal with them in different ways, some healthy, some unhealthy, you know. So life is tricky for us all in ways, but some people more than others, and some people are more, I feel, more genetically can't think of the word, more likely genetically to become addicts than others. I think it runs in parts of my family. But not so much with things like drugs, alcohol or gambling, but eating sugar and there are alcoholics in some parts of the family too. So I have a bit of an understanding that it's not an easy situation for anybody, and but it's just a bit irritating. They just choose to come around here and create inconvenience for us. We know someone's been in our car and stolen some CDs, going back quite a long while, because my husband got into the car and found he hadn't locked it by mistake, and the ice scraper was on the floor, and the glove box was open and the stuff was all over the floor in the front of the car, so it looked really like someone had been rifling through it, but he didn't really know what was in there, so he didn't know what had been taken, if anything. But they might have found a few quid in the in between the seats in the ashtray. Or actually, we don't have ashtrays in our car, I don't think. It's a bit old-fashioned to have an ashtray in a car. No, in the cup holder. When I was little, cars always had ashtrays. I was used to get told off by my dad for putting my sweet wrappers in the ashtray because it's really hard to get them out, because they had this sort of thing for stubbing your cigarette on, and I used to shove my sweet wrapper underneath that. So he eventually asked us Christmas or birthday or something, Father's Day, I don't know, and we were like, what can we get? He said, can you get me a bin for the car that you'll use? So he had this really good bin that went over the in the back of the car, between in the centre where the sort of brake cable went, I guess. There was a raised bit, and the bin sort of fitted over there. It had two little bags of sand, one each side, which would hold it in place so it didn't fall over. We used to put our sweet wrappers in there, and it was much easier to empty the rubbish out of the car rather than trying to get it out the ashtrays. You could remove the ashtrays, I think, which you had to do if you wanted to empty them. So you couldn't tip them out. You had to take them right out, which they used to have to do. My parents, if my grandfather had been in the car, because he would have a smoke in the car. Right, there's our tree. Leaves done. So let's do these leaves down here. I'm thinking maybe on the ground they might not be so autumnal, but I don't know. I'm just going to grab the permanent green and I would think they'd be a bit darker because they're sort of in the dark. That makes sense down here underneath. I'm actually just, oh, excuse me, I got a hiccup. Blocking them right in. And then I'm going to grab an even darker colour. I've got the pine green here, and I'm just going to darken up the bases a little bit, particularly where they're overlapping. There's a bit of shadow in there. There we go. I'm just grabbing the permanent green again to tidy them up. Okay, now we're going to do this grass as well next, just before I finish. It's quite a big page, so I think I'm going to have to do quite a few bits and pieces per video. So I'm going to use the permanent green for the grass. I know we have grass green and a leaf green, but I don't tend to use those. Now I'm only going to use one colour green for the grass. If you want to, you can use several, but they're quite thin and small. I think it's easier just to do the one. I'm going to have to finish in a minute because I've got a cup of coffee waiting for me. It's going to be cold. So my son might have also messaged me. I didn't bring my tablet through. Let's see if his train's late or not. I think they all seem to be running between 2 and 10 minutes late today, which is fine. Because someone was saying to me, of course, trains cannot be early because they have to, like buses, they have to wait for the correct time to leave the station or else people miss it. So they can only be late or on time, which was quite interesting way of thinking about it. Okay, there's that grass. I'm wondering whether, no, I think I'll do those leaves maybe to match that. I don't know, maybe not, who knows. So I'm just going over the grass. It's very quick and simple. Got lovely, these I've done a video for already, but I'll have to try and think of a different way to do them. I can't remember how I did them the first time, but I know how I'm tempted to do them, so maybe I should do them differently. Because the way I'm tempted to do them is probably the way I did them before. But we're nearly there. Sorry, lack of talking. I'm looking actually at this bit here, and it connects down from this bit here as part of the sort of symmetrical design. I'm wondering whether to do those bits the same, because we can't see much more of this, and they're joined. But then that is that, isn't it? So maybe not. If I'm going to do it differently, I've got to do it all differently. Okay, let's come out and have a look at what we've done so far. So, I'm not going to set you any homework, but oops, if you do want to outline some of the details on the tree, you could take a slightly different colour brown, maybe a burnt sienna, or maybe just your dark sepia, and do some shadowing under some of these bits if you want to make them stand out. But otherwise you can just leave them like I have, and they're there, you can see them, but they're just not too dark. Right, so that's me. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Yeah, I hope you have a really super day. Take care of yourself, enjoy, and come back tomorrow for the next bit. Please like, subscribe and comment. Thank you so much, and happy colouring.